My brother and father mocked me at the reunion, toasting that I was only the family ATM. But the bold move I made after that night taught them a lesson they would never forget. My name's Jake. I'm 32, and for the past decade I've been the financial punching bag of my family. You know how every family has that one person who made it? Instead of being proud, everyone treats them like a wallet with legs. Yeah, that's me. I run a tech startup. Well, ran, technically. I sold it 2 years ago and cashed out more money than my entire family has seen in 3 generations. I thought it would change everything, and it did. Just not how I expected. At first, they were subtle about it. My mom would casually mention how her old car was acting up again, glancing at me like I was a genie. My dad dropped hints about the roof needing repairs and how a good son would step in. My brother Danny, 2 years younger and permanently stuck in the fun uncle phase of life, started asking for loans that mysteriously never got paid back. But it wasn't just about money. It was the way they talked to me, like I was useful but not respected, like a tool, a resource, not a person. I tried to rationalize it. They just don't know how to handle wealth, I told myself. They're old school. I even convinced myself that this was my way of giving back. I paid off my parents' mortgage, bought Danny a second-hand pickup after. He totaled his own, and helped my cousin Emily with her student loans. I thought I was being generous, noble even, but the truth was, every dollar I handed over chipped away at whatever shred of dignity I had left in their eyes. I wasn't Jake anymore. I was the family ATM. Then came the reunion. It was one of those hot July Saturdays where everyone's pretending to have fun while secretly judging each other's outfits and life choices. The backyard was packed with folding chairs, half-burned burgers, and way too much cheap beer. I hadn't even wanted to go. Something in my gut told me not to, but my Aunt Lorraine guilt-tripped me with. Her usual "it would mean a lot to your mother if you showed up" routine. So I did. From the moment I walked in, it was like I had a neon dollar sign blinking over my head. "Jake!" Uncle Fred called out, clapping me on the back so hard I nearly dropped the bottle of wine I brought. "Tell me, you still in that tech voodoo thing, or did you finally buy your own island?" People laughed. I smiled politely. Later, while I was standing near the grill, Danny sauntered over, reeking of sweat and cheap cologne. "Hey man," he said, "me and Tara were thinking of taking a little trip to Cabo next month. Think you could spot me, say, $5 grand? Just a loan, of course." He winked. I stared at him. "You still haven't paid me back for your truck," I said. He grinned. "Come on, bro, you've got it. It's not like you'll miss it." That was the moment I felt something snap. Not all at once, more like the slow, quiet split of a worn-out rope under tension. I didn't respond, just handed him a drink and walked away. The rest of the evening was a blur of half-hearted conversations and fake smiles. I kept checking the time, waiting for the right excuse to leave. Then, just as the sun dipped behind the trees and someone lit the citronella torches, the moment came. It was my dad who kicked it off. He stood up near the folding table, raised his beer and shouted, "All right, everybody, how about a toast?" A few scattered cheers followed. I was across the yard, standing near a cooler, pretending to be deeply interested in a conversation about lawnmowers. To Jake, my dad continued, "Our very own walking ATM. The guy who mistook money for a personality." Laughter. Real laughter this time. From my uncle, from my cousin, even from my mom, who smiled behind her wine glass. Danny chimed in, "Yeah, cheers to Jake. Good thing he's rich because he sure didn't get the brains." More laughter. Something inside me went cold, not angry, not sad, just still. I didn't say anything at first. I just walked over slowly, stepped into the circle like I hadn't just been publicly humiliated, and smiled. Then I pulled out my phone. I looked at my dad, then Danny, then the others. "Cool," I said calmly, tapping the screen. "Then let's see how smart you feel when your credit cards stop working tonight." There was a pause. Not silence exactly, just confusion, like everyone was waiting for the punchline. But I just turned, walked past the dessert table, and left. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. I got into my car, turned on the AC, and drove. 10 minutes later, I pulled into a gas station parking lot and just sat there in the dark. My hands were trembling, but not from fear, from relief, because for the first time in years, I wasn't playing along. The next morning, my phone was blowing up. Missed calls, texts, voicemails, all from family. "Mom, Jake, call me. What did you mean last night? Your father is very upset." "Danny, bro, what did you do?" "My card got declined at the gas station. Fix this." "Uncle Fred, hey, not sure what that stunt was about, but you need to sort this out." I didn't respond. I didn't even open the voicemails. I just sat on my couch, drank my coffee slowly, and scrolled through the rest of my notifications. It had taken less than 12 hours for the cracks to show. You see, I never told them just how involved I had been in their financial lives. Back when I started making serious money, I offered to help. Keyword, offered. I didn't force it. My parents were nearing retirement, drowning in debt, so I cleared their mortgage. I added them to my financial advisory service, got them on a joint card I paid off every month to boost their credit. I didn't tell them that last part. They just assumed the new lifestyle was something they'd earned. My brother, he'd tanked his own credit so bad no bank would touch him, so I signed some things, gave him a temporary prepaid card to help with emergencies. He called it his Jake card. It was never supposed to be permanent, but over time, it became normal. Entitlement took root. They forgot the help was optional, forgot that I could end it at any time. So I did a few taps on my phone the night before, and I revoked all access, cut every shared card, canceled the automatic transfers I had, set up for my mom's utilities, disabled Danny's gas card, paused every linked account, and just like that, their reality shifted. By noon, my dad showed up at my place. I live in a gated building in the city. Not exactly easy to drop by unannounced, but I guess desperation makes people creative. I buzzed him up, more out of curiosity than anything. He walked in like he owned the place, like he hadn't just humiliated me the night before. "Jake," he barked, ignoring my nod. "Whatever joke you pulled, knock it off." My card got declined at the grocery store in front of everyone. "You embarrassed me." I stayed seated on the couch. "I didn't pull a joke," I said. He blinked. "What?" I continued, calm, measured. "I stopped paying for things that aren't mine. Your card? Not yours. The house? Not yours. The car you drive? Registered in my name." His mouth opened, then shut. His face went red. "You ungrateful little..." I cut him off. "Do you even remember what you said last night? Do you remember calling me an ATM in front of everyone? Laughing at me like I was just some joke with a bank account?" He waved a hand. "It was a joke. You're too sensitive." "No," I said. "I've been too generous for years, and the moment I stopped handing things out, suddenly I'm sensitive." He tried to sit down, but I didn't offer him a seat. He stood awkwardly for a moment, then paced. "You can't just pull the rug out from under us. Your mother and I..." I stood up now. I wasn't yelling. I didn't have to. The silence did the work. My mother let them laugh. My brother toasted to my humiliation. "And you?" I stepped closer. "You don't get to act betrayed when the only thing I ever gave you was help. Not cruelty, not insults, just help." He looked like he wanted to shout, to rage, but I think for the first time, he realized the balance had shifted. I had nothing left to prove, nothing left to offer. He left without another word. The next few days were chaotic. I got messages from cousins asking if I'd really cut off the family. Others sent half-hearted apologies, more like panic in disguise. Danny was the worst. He called over and over, left voicemails that ranged from pleading to threatening. "Jake, come on, man, I was drunk. It was a joke. Just turn the card back on. Tara is freaking out." "Then dude, what's your problem? You always think you're better than us, huh? Just because you got lucky." That last one made me laugh. Lucky? No one saw the nights I spent coding until dawn. No one remembers the years I went without vacations, without weekends, pouring every ounce of myself into building something that could support the people I loved. And this is how they repaid it. Not with gratitude, not even with silence, but with mockery. The final straw came 5 days later. Mom called. I didn't answer. Then she texted, "Your father is in the hospital. Stress. He collapsed yesterday. Come visit. He's asking for you." My heart dropped. Guilt flared. For a moment I nearly gave in, nearly drove down to the hospital to see him, but something didn't sit right. I called the hospital instead, gave my father's name, and waited. After a minute the nurse came back. "There's no patient here by that name." I tried another local hospital. Same result. I knew then it was a lie. I opened the group chat. Yes, the same one where they all shared family updates, memes, and passive-aggressive jabs, and saw it. A photo of my dad sitting by the pool, beer in hand, laughing, posted 2 hours ago. That's when something inside me went still again, but this time, it wasn't sadness, it was resolve. They wanted to test me, mock me, use me. Fine. They wanted to see what I looked like without my generosity. I was about to show them, but not with words, with action. And when they realized what I'd taken away from them, not just money, but comfort, stability, status, they'd understand exactly what kind of ATM I used to be and just how empty life gets when you withdraw one too many times. I didn't reply to the group chat, didn't call my mom, didn't even open Danny's latest message, which started with, "Okay bro, truce," and ended with a photo of his maxed-out credit card statement. It didn't matter anymore. I had already made my decision. The next step wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. No threats, no ultimatums. I just began undoing everything. First, I called my lawyer and my financial advisor. I told them I wanted to officially remove my parents and brother from any joint accounts, credit lines, or financial tools they were still latched onto. I wanted every record, every agreement, every trace of dependency dissolved. It would take a couple of weeks, they said. Some of it would require signatures or formal notices, but they could start immediately. Then came the house, the one my parents lived in. I bought it 5 years ago after they begged me not to let it fall into foreclosure. I'd put the deed in a trust, my trust. They knew that vaguely, but always assumed I'd let them live there rent-free forever. So I didn't evict them, not yet. I just called the property manager and instructed him to begin routine inspections, appraisals, and preparations for future tenants. Quietly, carefully. No need to alarm anyone for now. Danny's car was next. That shiny new truck he showed off to everyone? Yeah, still under my name. He hadn't made a single payment in 10 months. I called the leasing company, told them I wouldn't be renewing the insurance, and asked them to prepare for repossession. They said they'd give him a final notice. I told them not to rush. Then I went into digital cleanup mode. Every subscription I had added them to. Netflix, Prime, Spotify Family, my Adobe account Danny used to make his little side hustle graphics. Gone. Passwords changed, devices removed. It was almost petty, but it felt good. Every tiny string they were attached to I severed, click by click. By the end of the week, it was like watching a silent collapse. No explosions, no big show, just a slow unraveling of the safety net they'd been dangling on. But even then, I didn't hear from any of them directly. Not Mom, not Dad, not Danny. Until Sunday, I was out at brunch with some friends, real friends, people who actually laughed with me, not at me. When my phone rang, an unknown number, I let it go to voicemail. 10 minutes later, I checked it. It was my mom. Her voice was shaky, not dramatic, not fake teary like she sometimes got when she wanted something, just tired. Jake, I don't know what's going on. Your father is fuming and Danny's been yelling for 2 days. He says someone's coming to take the truck. The bank won't talk to me about our mortgage. I don't understand what we did. If you're upset about what your dad said, he didn't mean it. It was just a joke. That's how your father is. Please call me. I sat with that voicemail for a long time, not because I didn't know what to do, but because I wanted to be sure I wasn't acting out of spite. I wasn't. This wasn't revenge. It was correction. They'd turned me into a paycheck with a pulse. The moment I stopped performing, they panicked. Not because they missed me, but because they missed what I gave them. I needed them to feel the distance now, not as punishment but as clarity. So I texted my mom, one line, "I'll call when you're ready to apologize for everything, not just the joke." She didn't respond. That night, Danny showed up at my place. I saw him through the peephole, sweaty, red-faced, pacing. I didn't open the door. I waited until he knocked a second time, then a third, harder each time. Finally, I opened it just a crack. He launched into it immediately. "What's happening, Jake? My card's frozen. They're taking the truck. Tara thinks I'm lying, thinks I blew the money at a casino." I leaned against the doorframe. "So tell her the truth." "What truth?" he snapped. "That I was paying for everything, and you never intended to pay me back. That every time you called me bro, what you really meant was bank. That every toast you made behind my back was a reminder that no matter how much I gave, it would never be enough." He shook his head like I was the crazy one. "Jake, it was a joke. You're overreacting." There it was again, that same deflection, that same refusal to see me as anything other than a service. So, I closed the door. Didn't slam it, didn't shout, just clicked it shut and turned the lock. I stood there for a long moment, listening to him curse, kick the mat, and stomp down the hall. Then, silence. The next morning, I got a new voicemail from my dad. His tone was different now, quieter, less smug. "Jake, your mother's upset. I'm not proud of what I said at the reunion. I didn't think you'd take it personally, but I guess maybe you should have. I don't know. Things are kind of falling apart over here. I know you're mad. You've made your point, so what now?" I played that message twice. Then I smiled because, for the first time in my life, he didn't sound like the one in control, and I wasn't the one apologizing. But I wasn't done yet. They still hadn't realized what else I'd built without them. And when they finally discovered the real bomb I'd been quietly preparing in the background, the one that would change everything, they assumed about their security, their legacy, and their place in my future. That's when the real reckoning would begin. 3 weeks passed. 3 painfully quiet weeks where, for the first time in years, no one in my family asked me for anything. No one sent birthday reminders with passive-aggressive Venmo requests. No one sent guilt-tripping texts about bills or unexpected expenses. No surprise calls about broken appliances or dental emergencies. Just silence. And I needed that silence. I needed space to remember who I was before they turned me into something useful. Before I was the rich one, before my love had to be transactional to be respected. But the silence wasn't just healing, it was revealing. Because while they were scrambling to adjust, I was putting the final piece in place. See, I didn't just want them to feel the absence of my money. I wanted them to confront the reality that it had been mine all along. Not theirs, not a family asset, not a shared resource, mine. And they needed to understand that when you publicly humiliate the person holding the umbrella, you shouldn't be surprised when it closes in the middle of the storm. So, I waited. Then, one afternoon, I got a notification from my attorney. All the paperwork had gone through. The house, the trust, the financial vehicles, all officially restructured, all entirely under my personal holding company. My lawyer called it a clean severance. I called it overdue. That night, I sent a group email to my parents, Danny and my Aunt Lorraine, who'd somehow made herself the family treasurer over the years. The subject line was simple: moving forward. The email read, "Hi everyone. Over the past decade, I've provided financial support in various forms: housing, loans, credit lines, insurance, and miscellaneous bills. I did this willingly, hoping it would bring us closer. Instead, it taught me that generosity without boundaries turns into expectation, and expectation into entitlement. After recent events, I've chosen to end all financial ties, effective immediately. The house at 18 Lakewood Lane will be listed next month. Current occupants will be given 30 days to make arrangements. Danny's truck lease has been canceled. Any outstanding debts owed to me have been formally written off. I won't be pursuing collections. Consider them gifts, final ones. I'll no longer be responding to requests for money, assistance, or intervention. I love you, but I love myself more. Wishing you all the best, Jake." I hit send, sat back, and closed my laptop. Then I turned off my phone for the weekend. When I turned it back on Monday morning, my voicemail inbox was full. The first was from my mom, tearful, rambling. "Jake, I didn't know things had gotten so bad. I thought we were just joking that night. Your father's devastated. We never meant to make you feel used." She was crying by the end of it, but it didn't move me like I thought it would. Not because I didn't care, but because I knew the difference between guilt and grief. They weren't grieving me, they were grieving the access to me. The second message was from Danny. "Dude, okay, I get it. You're serious, but you don't need to burn it all down like this. I've got nothing right now, nothing. You really just going to watch your brother go under?" There it was again, watch your brother go under, like I was responsible for his choices. His laziness, his entitlement, like I hadn't bailed him out 10 times already. No apology, no ownership, just pressure. Then came the text from my dad. It was short, just 3 words: "We raised you." I stared at that one for a while, and then I laughed, because that was it, wasn't it? That was the root of it all. They thought raising me earned them lifetime rights to everything I became, that feeding me, housing me, and sending me to school meant they could forever collect emotional dividends. That love was a contract with no expiration date. They didn't raise me to be free, they raised me to be useful, and the moment I outgrew that, I became inconvenient. Well, I was done being convenient. The listing for the house went live 2 weeks later. The real estate agent, a polite woman named Marissa, said she'd never seen such a well-maintained home with so little equity attached to it. When I told her the full backstory, she gave a sad smile and said, "You'd be surprised how often this happens with families." I wasn't surprised. Not anymore. My parents moved out quietly. I paid for 1 month's rent on a small apartment nearby, just to give them time. That was my final gesture, a bridge they could choose to cross if they ever wanted to build something real again. They didn't thank me. Danny lost the truck 2 days after that. The repo guy said he'd never seen someone scream so loudly in boxers and flip-flops. Aunt Lorraine tried to rally the family against me. She emailed cousins, uncles, family friends. "Jake thinks he's better than us," she wrote. "He's turned his back on his own blood. Funny how blood only mattered when I closed the faucet." Some cousins reached out privately, quietly thanked me for what I'd done over the years, and told me they understood. A few even apologized for laughing at the reunion. I appreciated it, but I didn't re-engage. I needed space. I still do. The holidays came and went that year. No invitations, no calls, no awkward group photos, or dry turkey dinners. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt peace. Real, aching, unfamiliar peace. I spent Christmas in a mountain cabin, alone by choice, with a fire, a dog I'd recently adopted, and a sketch pad I hadn't touched in 10 years. Not because I was sad, but because I was healing. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I was just done. And in that quiet, I remembered something important. I remembered that love doesn't demand payment, that family doesn't mean forfeiting yourself, and that sometimes walking away isn't betrayal. It's survival. So, if you're reading this, and you've ever felt like the Jake in your own life, let me tell you something. You're allowed to stop being their plan B. You're allowed to reclaim your boundaries. You're allowed to say enough. Because the people who truly love you don't toast to your humiliation. They don't mock your value. They don't only call when their rent is due. They show up, they stay, and they never treat you like a walking ATM with a smile. That chapter of my life is closed now. And for the first time in a long time, I'm writing a new one. One where I'm not the punchline. One where I'm not the bank. One where I finally get to be Jake. Just Jake. And that, I've learned, is more than enough.